Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about Google Core Web Vitals. This is super important and it matters even more than before, more than ever before I would dare to say, especially following the latest Google Core update to their search algorithm. Many people have been strongly affected and most people that lost a lot of ranks and a lot of traffic have some improvements to make in Core Web Vitals. So if you don't know what this is yet, I'm going to describe in a few details and share a few resources. And I'm going to tell you how you can improve this, how you can make progress on your page speed, your technical soundness on your website, what free tools Google gives you to help you improve these Core Web Vitals. And I can tell you most of the people that talked to me and that gained ranks, that gained traffic after the Google search engine update that occurred last month, most of these people have amazing scores in their Core Web Vitals. I think this is one of the key single things that you can do to alleviate any down rank and gain new visitors again, because this is taken into account by Google very heavily. Okay, let's get into the content. Before I jump any further, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below. Thanks to all those that shared their story about their website, their numbers. It's super helpful, super nice. So feel free to share your story, what you're doing, if you have a few tips, if you have problem questions. This is super helpful and helps me know what kind of video you want to see. So this is an article from our blog on Ad360 that we published last week. So I will be putting the link in the description below so you can learn more about the Core Web Vitals and why they matter more than before. And even though Google hasn't really published any clear change logs and any clear description of what changes they've made on their algorithm, the online SEO community now says that if you have poor scores in your Core Web Vitals, this is one of the key signs that you're going to be negatively affected. And if you, on the contrary, have good Core Web Vital scores, most likely your website has gained ranks. Now this is a rule of thumb. It may not apply to your website, so tell us if that's not the case for you. But that's been the case very frequently in some testimonials I've seen online, some people from the SEO and Google search community. And that's great because that gives you one very actionable lever to pull to start increasing your website success again. So let me describe a bit more. So I won't read the full article. You can check that. I will put the link in the description. And so, but very quickly, what are Core Web Vitals? Basically, they're all the technical aspects that go into making the page experience better in the eyes of Google. And that includes loading time, making sure the page is interactive very fast, and you don't have to wait for a bunch of time for all the elements to appear before you can start like scrolling, clicking, making stuff on the website. And finally, visual stability. Especially for slow connection, sometimes there's a bit of text appearing and then an image and then the layout shifts, and Google really doesn't like that. So these three components are the key components of what Google calls the Core Web Vitals. And there are other things to also take into consideration. Your website needs to be responsive and especially mobile friendly, so it needs to look good on mobile. Safe browsing, of course, any harmful content or code needs to be absent from your website. That's a given, but you need to make sure regularly that there's no strange stuff on your website. You haven't been attacked or hacked in any way. You don't have like weird links on your website that lead to places that people don't want to go to. HTTPS, super important, secure connection, and no intrusive interstitials. And that's super important. I made a whole video about this that you can find in the channel about why Google is starting to penalize and downrank websites that have pop-ups. So interstitials are stuff that shows up on your screen and blocks a large part of your screen. So Google doesn't like that. So if you have pop-ups when people first come on your website, I still see this very frequently on e-commerce websites. If the first thing that people see is a big pop-up that says subscribe now to get 10% off or something like that, even though it might be an efficient tactic to gain leads and emails and stuff like that, most likely in the long run it's not going to be worth it, because Google is going to downrank your website because of that. They really don't like this. And even if you remove it, to be honest, you might gain a few more visitors because your bounce rate is going to be lower. And so even in the short term, it's not entirely sure if you're going to lose anything by removing that kind of pop-ups. One interesting thing that you can do is Google is not going to downrank you if it's not intrusive. So Google called that intrusive if it takes up most of the screen. So what you still can do is have a small pop-up that appears, for example, like this chat icon. If I click and I have something that's on the one side of the screen, or at the bottom of the screen, if it's a small banner, that's okay, but it shouldn't take the whole screen space, basically. Okay, let me show you a few more things about Google Core Web Vitals. I will put this link also in the description. This is directly from the Google Search Console help, and they give a link to a report that you can run to see what your Core Web Vitals score. And just to comment on why this is so important, if your load time for your pages increases from 1 to 3 seconds, then bounce rate increases 32%. And if your load time increases from 1 second to 6 seconds, bounce rate increases by 106%. So double the bounce rate. So that's a lot of people who you might be losing, and these are less visitors and less buyers. So it's super important. So I will let you navigate this. You have a ton of super useful links like the CR/UX report, page speed insights, which I'm going to show you, the Chrome Lighthouse tool. So I'm going to show you all of that in a second, and you'll find all these links in the description. So one more thing about the Core Web Vitals. Let me explain in a bit more details what they mean. So these are the same three that we detailed on the website. So loading, interactivity, and visual stability. So the first one is largest contentful paint. So that's the basically a measure of the page loading time and loading speed. So this measures loading performance. To provide a good user experience, LCP should occur within 2.5 seconds of when the page first starts loading. So this doesn't mean that the whole page will be loaded, only like the first screen and the first few important elements. So that's why it's called largest contentful paint. So that's like the first screen, basically, to dumb things down. It's super important, and it needs to come up very quickly so that your users don't have to wait a very long time before they see what your website is about. Then if they like what they see first, then they can scroll down, they can see the rest. And while they take some time to look at the first content, it gives you additional time to load the rest of the website. That's why if you have a poor score in LCP, one super important method is, for example, to use asynchronous loading for the rest of your page. So everything that's below the fold, so that's the first, the first content fold, so before you need to scroll to see the rest. So everything that's below the fold, you should load it with async loading. So it's not going to load right away. First, you're going to load the first content, and then once that's loaded, the rest will load. So that's super important. Second, FID, first input delay, measures interactivity. So to provide a good user experience, pages should have a FID of 100 milliseconds or less. So this means that your page needs to be, we need to be able to interact with it. Even though it's not fully loaded, because you see it's 100 milliseconds, whereas the first content can be up to 2.5 seconds to be loaded. But you need to be able to start scrolling right away and start interacting. You don't want to wait until the full content is loaded before you can do anything. Otherwise, people freak out. They think their computer is broken, they froze, that there's a bug, and they really freak out if the website becomes unresponsive for even like a few milliseconds. That's really crazy. But people are not really used to having slow loading pages anymore. So that's super, super important. And lastly, CLS, cumulative layout shift. This measures the visual stability. So to provide a good user experience, pages should maintain a CLS of 0.1 or less. So this measures how things move up and or shaking up after they're being loaded. So you should load them in one way and don't change the layout after new elements are loaded. So these are technical stuff, but if your website is built in the right way, then you shouldn't have a problem with that. Now, how to know how it's going on? So you have a free tool called the Page Speed Insights. So this is a free tool by Google. So I'll put the link in the description. And for example, I tested that on Ad360.media, and you see we have a very good score, 94 of 100 on desktop. So usually scores on desktop are a bit higher, but you see here you have the three metrics we mentioned. So FCP, you have the speed index, LCP, and the time to interactive. So they have a bit of different names, but basically, this is the first one we mentioned, the loading time. Then you have total blocking time. This is the second one about the time to interactiveness, and the last one, cumulative layout sheet. So you see here we could do a bit better, meaning some elements are loaded and they change how the website looks like. So that's something we could improve on a bit. On mobile, the score is a bit lower. That's usual, but you should really try to be above 70, 75, even 80. That would be ideal. And some websites have 90 plus. And then we have some pages also where we have close to 100. It depends on the page. On the home page, we have a ton of content. Oh, and now it's unresponsive. Yeah, sometimes it bugs, don't worry. It happens to a lot of people. So this report is very resource intensive because it loads your page in a lot of different ways, calculates a bunch of stuff, so it takes a bit of a while to run. But basically what I was saying is, so we can do a lot better on mobile. Usually mobile have slower connections, the pages are done a bit differently, the layout is different, so you have to make sure that your website is well optimized for mobile as well. So here, not catastrophic, but and it's it stopped. But basically, I finished showing you what I want to show you. So you have to get a good score on both desktop and mobile. Let's move on. So this is the Google Search Console. So this is the next big thing that you need to take care of. A lot of people mentioned in the feedbacks after the Google Core update that websites that have technical issues, errors, that don't have a sitemap, that don't have robots.txt and this kind of stuff, they are being heavily downranked. If you don't know what all these things are, you should definitely read more on the Google Search Console help about all these things. If you really don't know where to start, the best thing to do is to go to search.google.com, and there they're going to give you a step-by-step, process to start making sure there's no issue with your website. First, if you're not even registered on the Google Search Console, you're going to be able to do so. That's super, super important. And you see on our side, I won't comment on our results today, but if you want a video about that, tell me. I can make a video where I go about our numbers. I show you what we're doing, what's our content strategy, how we've been affected. But basically, you see that following the change, so end of May, beginning of June, we've started having a lot more clicks, and I can show you it's even more visible in our performance report. I can show you that. But that's not the purpose of today's video. Tell me in the comments if you'd like to see that. But I wanted to show you some coverage. So we have one page with errors. So if you have a page like that, you can identify what's going on. You can fix it. So that's something we need to fix. But we have a ton more valid pages. So that's great. So here you can see if there's any technical issue, if Google notices a page is not mobile friendly, or if there's a page that doesn't load, or there's a broken link or stuff like that. So that's super, super helpful. You absolutely need to make sure you have as few errors as possible. Lastly, you need to make sure you have a sitemap. Here you can see ours has been submitted and parsed regularly, and you have the coverage. So here again you can see, so we have one issue and we have 505 valid pages. So these tools are super important. I hope they're going to help you improve your rank, and I'm going to link all of that in the description, including the Ad360 blog article. As a reminder, we publish every day from Monday to Friday articles in our blog on ad360.media. They're completely free. We try to give out a ton of value, advice, tips to help you improve your website, improve your rank, get more traffic, explain how advertising works, how you can get more buyers, by running targeted ads in the right way, because that's really what we're about. At the end of the day, even though we give a ton of content about website design and e-commerce and search, our real focus is on advertising. Ad360, who brought this video to you, makes this possible. Ad360 is a company we started that makes it super easy to start advertising all over the web. So there's not just Facebook ads and TikTok ads, Google on the web. There are actually hundreds of millions of websites you can access, and you don't have to fight for the same eyeballs as everybody else. You can actually focus your content and your ads towards different people that are going to be more qualified on websites or blogs, articles that talk about your topic. For example, if you're selling shoes or clothing, you can run these ads on fashion blogs, on apparel clothing blogs, clothing websites, and stuff like that. So it's super relevant. You're going to bring qualified audiences at a fraction of the cost of social media ads, because everybody's fighting for the same eyeballs there. If you're interested and want to learn more, feel free to go to the Ad360 website, and you can install the app, start the free trial, test for yourself if it works out or not. If you want to learn more, if you want some help with your website, that's also something we can do. We can provide free services to help you fix your core web vitals, fix your website, improve a ton of stuff. We're doing that for free for our customers. So if you want to learn more, feel free to contact us with the second link in the description to book a call. I wish you a ton of success. See you soon.